Hello! Haha, did I scare you? Hello! So welcome to the premiere of Parallel. It's been a long time coming. Our first shots of this movie were in July last year, right?
Before that in Geneva.
Yes, that's right. Our colorist was, yes. And then there was a long line of special effects shots that had to be prepared. So we're very excited to share this with everybody. Hello to anybody who's streaming this live. I assume that they see me through that camera right there. Is that? Hi. Let me just orient everybody here. So there's popcorn and carrots and jelly beans and water and hot tea. If you go out those doors, there's bathrooms in the hallway. And so, yes. And so we will watch a couple trailers, we'll watch the film, we'll see the behind the scenes, and then we'll do our Q&A. That'll be the order. And so feel free, if you need to use the restroom, to go ahead and do that, or welcome somebody in if they're like, I don't know where to sit. And we'll get started. Are you ready? Yes. All right.
Hi. Well, I can't accept gifts, especially from strangers. Thank you.
So please, accept the gift in the spirit that it's all for. What did you want to tell me, Dad?
I was there when the world changed.
Do you mean your research?
There's something I never told you about my work. I'm sorry, honey. How are things with Eric?
The same. Dad, I don't want to talk about it right now. What do you want to tell me?
When I was your age, I was working in Geneva. The project. The project was small, underfunded. No one believed it would work, but it was the perfect time for our work. CERN's particle accelerator had proven the existence of the Higgs boson, that most elementary particle. We're on the cusp of peeling back the veil on reality itself. By accident, we stumbled onto a theory that could finally prove the existence of other universes. We were about to open a window into another universe. Months of trial and error. It finally occurred to me that a window of this type had to be open sides. If there really is an infinite number of universes out there, somewhere, someone might be trying to open a window too. So we adjusted our approach.
And that's how you made contact?
Took almost a year of waiting. But we made contact.
Hi.
Hi.
That's when I first saw her. Maybe at first it was the awe of contacting another universe, but no. There was always more.
You loved her.
From that very moment. After the initial fuss, we could finally talk to another universe. Talk. A lot. Anne and I.
You spent a lot of time together.
Every moment I could spare. And all the time we worked to reach this point, I never once on anything more than to just contact. I never thought that once we made contact, all I'd want to do was find a way to break through that damn.
Henry, if you could take me anywhere, tell me. Where would it be?
Close your eyes. I'll take you there right now.
In our minds, we traveled. We touched. We were together. We found love that reached across an abyss and through metaphysical barriers. We were so close, yet separated by an infinity between us. We shared our lives in almost 2 years.
What happened? What happened?
About 20 months in, we'll be going over detailed information on how each of our sides managed to contact. We discovered, well, in essence, our math didn't match up.
What do you mean?
It's as if our two universes were traveling through reality at slightly different speeds. And for this brief in time, for this tiny moment, universes were perfect, so we could reach out to each other.
Actually meet up for longer.
We can't slow it down. Looks like
We talked about every possibility, but the data was clear. Our two universes were moving out of sync.
Could you?
We had only another
Is there?
3 months at most.
Henry, please. We've been over this.
I can't. I'm not ready to say goodbye.
we don't have to say goodbye yet. There's still time
For what?
for you to be with me. Be with me.
I was young and stupid. I should have stopped trying much sooner. We could have had more time together.
I love you, Anne.
I love you too, Henry.
as long as we could.
And? No!
Just like that, we were out of sync. Oh, sweetie, I didn't tell you this so you'd cry. I wanted to tell you for years. I just didn't know how. It was like something from another life. It was so long ago. I spent years being bitter. How could I have fallen in love like that, found someone so amazing, only to lose her? I'm not sure why it happened. I was so angry. But eventually I realized not much in this life makes sense. It seems to me we're all out of sync. It's like we're all particles flying through the universe at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Every so often, we're fortunate enough to discover that, for a while, our paths run parallel to someone else's. And rather than dread the inevitable moment when our trajectories drift apart, we need to cherish every moment we share. When I finally realized that, I was ready to move on. A short while later, I met your mother. And our trajectories ran side by side for years. Until I lost her too. But I never regretted a single moment we had together. Even though I never loved like that again, I loved your mother with every bit of my being. Yeah. We had you. I just wanted to tell you that. Right now, your path runs parallel to other people's paths. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. Never forget this. Don't waste years of your life the way I did. Can you promise me that? Please, can you promise me that?
I promise.
One night I was driving home pretty late, and this idea for this story just kind of popped into my head, almost fully formed, which is kind of a unique experience. I only had it happen a few times, very few times. Something about the idea of thinking about traffic and cars and then traveling and on all these lines, and for a little while you're next to a car, and then everybody goes their separate ways. And I started thinking about particles traveling through space. And for a while, maybe particles are next to each other and traveling in a similar trajectory, and then eventually veer off in their own trajectories or stop moving, all kinds of things like that. And just all these thoughts were swirling in my head, and suddenly this story of the idea of a parallel universe sharing that kind of existence. Some of the current theories about if there are parallel universes, they might be like bubbles in a fluid, you know, and so potentially we're moving at different rates through reality, if you will. And you know, I took a lot of artistic license with that, obviously. But yeah, this idea just popped into my head of like, that's an amazing metaphor for love. It's an amazing metaphor for what it means to be in relationship with anyone. We are, in a sense, each of us a universe unto ourselves that is in so many ways impenetrable. You know, I can never exist in someone else's mind. I can never truly experience life as someone else. But it doesn't diminish from the fact that we share this world. We're meant to be in relationship with each other. And so this idea of playing off of a science fiction aspect to really explain what I feel is sort of the nature of relationships and how they're finite. In this life, at least, they're finite. There's a beauty and a fragility to that, but there's also something that's really worthwhile about embracing this moment when my trajectory in life coincides with the trajectories of other people. And being able to say, you know, just embrace this moment versus worrying about, well, where's my life trajectory going to go, or someone else's, and you know, wanting to shield myself from that. Honestly, it was such a daunting, intimidating idea when this first came to mind that I didn't write it. I couldn't write it right away. I think I spent at least a week, maybe a couple weeks. I would think about the idea. I think about how I was like, I want this to be the story of the scientist who falls in love. And then, of course, the universes drift apart, and he's telling this story to his daughter. Like, honestly, it just took me a while to be emotionally okay with telling that story. I don't know if that's weird, or it was just my personal response emotionally to the concept was so visceral that I couldn't get around to writing it initially because I was too busy having fighting the lump in my throat, quite frankly, and just and I think I was a little scared that I felt like it's a beautiful idea, and I don't know if I can do it justice, and I still don't know if I did it justice. I hope that in some fashion, some of what, you know, just kind of hit me like a freight train on that drive home that night gets communicated through the movie. So I hope that as people engage the movie, watch the movie, that on some level they maybe embrace that idea, are reminded that, yeah, life is finite, but there's a beauty to that. There's a value to that, the value to the fact that we should invest in relationship, that shouldn't keep us, make us afraid, spend, you know, as Henry talks about at the end, you know, wasting time on being angry, wondering why it is that, you know, we might feel cheated out of love, out of a relationship with someone we care. And that can take so many forms, you know, that can be from as simple as, you know, this person that you love breaks your heart and leaves you, or someone you love dies. But at the end of the day, I think we don't do ourselves or the people around us any good, you know, by investing ourselves and our energies to bitterness, and being able to embrace the here and now and say, well, I know it hurts, but it's still, the alternative is much worse. You know, numbness is much worse. It's much better to invest and to embrace the here and say, this is worthwhile, even if it's hard. Because none of us know how long we have with each other. And it can be easy to take things for granted on one level. It can also be easy. I know I suffer a lot from wanting to skip ahead, get on with life, so to speak, and, be thinking about, well, if only I was at this place in life, or this was going on for me, or, then, once I can get there, then life will be good. But when in reality, it's like, no, life is good if you say it's good to many degrees. I mean, obviously there are circumstances when that's not true, but so much of whether or not we think life is good is whether or not we think life is good, whether or not we take on that attitude, or if we're investing in our energies in being bitter, in not being in the moment, living, for the future. We kind of lose sight of, I think, the value of what we have right before us.
Kind of diving in a little bit deeper and thinking about things. So one of the things that we hope comes out of that is that people start to maybe use those conversations to have conversations of their own, that it sparks something in us and we start thinking about how we might respond to some of the things that we see. It's also kind of fun because we get to know various people and we get to dig a little bit deeper into the various things going on in the film. And so we will start with a few questions that I've put together, and then we'll open up some questions to all of you, so you'll raise your hand, and I'll repeat your questions so that we have it for the video, because these become like bonus materials. And then, for the first time ever, I will attempt to take Twitter questions. So, wish me luck. So, we will start with really basic, easy questions. So, what's your name, and what role did you play in the making of Parallel? And then maybe who do you think you're more like, Henry or Anne, and why do you think so? So we'll start there. So first tell us who you are and what role you played, and then you can do the who do you think you're more like.
All right. Well, my name is Raja Samaru, and this is new to me here, coming on stage, being in the spotlight like this. My primary role was the cinematographer, DP, and I think when we first got involved, we thought a lot about the style and how to achieve some of the things, because Michael and I have been making films for many, many years, and I guess I'm jumping ahead maybe when I say we've had sort of a parallel we've had a parallel existence when it comes to filmmaking. He's helped me out on Worm-Free Society, which is a film I'm very proud of. And likewise, we've helped each other out on many projects. But every film is, and of itself, a great experience where you have to fully, become part of that project. So I was also the associate producer because I feel I contributed some camera gear and some other advice as we were, planning this project.
Location scouting, all kinds of things.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I went beyond the Call of Duty.
Of a DVD.
No, I felt very strongly about the story, and I think really to create extraordinary work, you have to be more involved than somebody behind the camera, and you have to be fully involved in the project. Right.
Do you want to, who do you identify more with?
Oh, yes, I didn't answer that one. I think I identify more with Henry because I get to know him a little more, and maybe there's a part of that reasoning, scientific mindset that I have. I just don't know enough about the Kate's character to go into that too much. All right. Yeah.
Good. See how easy it is to be in the spotlight. Boom, there it is.
Right.
I'm Michael, the writer-director, that you probably figured out from the video. I even wore the same shirt. How embarrassing.
This is my good shirt.
Just in case, you know, the face, yeah. Yes, that's right. It's, yeah, laundry. But yeah, I wrote, directed, and did a few other things. Sort of, you know, a labor of love in many ways. But yeah, I mean, I certainly couldn't have done it alone, and there's actually several people in this room who I owe a great thanks to, including Raja and got some of the cast here. Some can't be here, they're actually in a play. So my thanks to all of them. And to our VFX artists who also went above and beyond the Call of Duty. Shanam, if you're watching this in Pakistan, thank you, dude.
So amazing.
So yeah, great guy, hire him. Yeah, so I did a bunch of stuff. My brain is kind of addled because I was up really late, but that's a long story in and of itself, but this movie wasn't done till this morning.
You were partying, that's
I was
what it was.
I was partying.
Color grading party. But who do I identify with? I think naturally I identify with Henry. I think that's why I instantly went to that story, you know, being Henry's story versus Anne's story as being like, that's the perspective the side I want to be on. And in fact, why literally I never even wanted to cross over into the other universe and really see Anne's universe, because it is a very subjective experience that Henry is relaying here. It's all memory, really, of this relationship. So there's much more that could be explored there, but in this particular instance, I only explored Henry's side, and I think is because naturally that like I said, even in the video, I feel like I have that tendency of wanting to sort of fix things. I want to skip ahead, like, can we just figure it out, kind of thing. So I'm probably more like Henry and sitting there at the computer trying to, against all odds, find a means to reverse the inevitable, and you know, rather than pause and invest, just be with people, I think. So in a real sense, I think it's purely therapy. A very selfish movie, because I made it for myself that way, to remind myself.
Nice job. I'm Christina, and so I guess I AD'd and I script supervised, except for when Trevor did it because I was running a service. And I was like, that's my pen. I was like, oh, right, because he's script supervising. And I cooked, so that was fun. And in terms of who...
And you produced,
I
which
produced
is like the
Yeah, I took
the
your
title.
contracts and gave them back to you after you signed them.
You said, okay, let's make this crazy thing. That's the biggest job.
And then, where are we now? Yeah. That's like your phone. Can you hear me now? Where are we now? So, yeah, so that was all really great. I loved it. I'll always love it. And I think I wish that I identified more with Anne, because what I really like about her is the ability to just be there, right there in that moment, and say, just be with me. We've got a little bit of time. Just be with me. I appreciate that. But I think more often than not, I'm in a hurry. I'm angry that there's traffic. I want to move to the next puzzle that they haven't mastered yet, that I think is going to fix everything, that never fixes everything. And so yeah, I think sadly, though I wish I could relate more with Anne, I think it's Henry. So that was the easy one. So we'll start to move like increasingly. And we'll start with regrets. We're going to talk a little bit about regret. So Henry tells his daughter not to waste years of her life the way he did. And then Michael, in the behind the scenes there, talks about relationships as being these beautiful and finite things. And so I thought we would maybe just go right into all of your personal stuff and ask you, do you have any relationships that you wish that you would have invested more in? Wait, is his wife here? I know. The vulnerable.
I guess it's my turn.
Right.
So in terms of, obviously, I think everyone has those relationships that you wish you invested more energy into for whatever reason. Over the years, I've found some good friends where I don't have to invest that much energy into the relationship for us to still be able to reconnect many years later, many months later, many projects later, and we still sort of pick up from where we left off. And I think that's like the true parallel relationship, the metaphor you're going for is like maybe you drift apart, you learn some new skills, you grow as, you know, your wisdom has changed. Maybe you took a trip to India and you've learned some things or two, and then you come back and you reconvene and you chat. Like I believe I have this kindred relationship with not just Michael but some other directors where I can go and do another project, learned a lot, make a lot of mistakes, come back, and grow at a very high level, and that's part of what he's saying. But in the film space, I'm relating it to that. But personally, most definitely, I've had those long relationships where you don't know where it's going, whether it's divergent or if it's coming together, and everyone's got their own lives to live, and like how do you give yourself to everyone or no one, or choose who you're going to spend time with? So I can see the metaphor even clearer now after the video and after the movie, all in one piece.
Yeah, regrets. Yeah, I think I have plenty of those. Plenty of relationships that I think actually I have it on both sides. There's I would say the flip side of maybe the parallel story is that there are relationships that it legitimately is a waste of time to invest in, if you want to be blunt. That you know, that's not such a wise decision. Don't go there. And I've had a few of those, but yeah, I think by and large, I mostly think in terms of, you know, like I think it's only natural that after the fact you're always going to ask yourself questions like, oh, should I have invested more time in relationship with my grandparents before they passed away? Should I have, you know, made more of an effort to really connect with that person before they moved away, and, you know, their life just goes on a totally different trajectory. And I have a lot of experience with saying goodbye because I grew up in a different country and moved a few times. And I think throughout my time, I've always struggled with just an ease, maybe too much ease, and just being like, oh, okay. So I'm never going to see that person again. Bye. Yeah. You know, yeah, it's, which is, you know, but then I stop and I think like, oh man, you know, like I wish I could invest in really having known that person more, because the people I have invested myself in knowing, even sometimes for a very short time, as has been the case actually several times in my life, have often really enriched my life and has been a really valuable and meaningful thing. So yeah, I guess I regret plenty of relationships that I didn't invest in.
Nice. Yeah. When you first started, I want to say, well, there was this one time at band camp, and I was like, that would be interrupting, so I didn't do it.
Come on, you can do it. You wouldn't have regretted it.
I think with something like this, there's one relationship in particular that I definitely regret. So I was involved in a big project with this one person in particular, and our boss said that I was going to have to take it over. So we were acting acting as peers, but if the project was going to keep going forward, I needed to take it over. And so this was a big deal for the other person I was working with, and it was such a big deal that he stopped talking to me. That was the end of it, and he broke everything off. Then it was, I kind of thought eventually it would come around, like we would reconcile, it would become less of a big deal, and maybe we'd even work together in the future. And then a couple years later, he died. And I found out at a wedding. Someone actually came up to me like this. I was like, that's really bracing. So that in particular has been a big deal for me, that if something goes poorly, how much time, I kind of just thought time would heal something in and of itself, and then there was no more time. That was all the time that we had. And so that one becomes a big regret for me. I feel like it's something that I mull over from time to time, if there's a relationship that looks like it's going to stay broken for a while. So that one's mine. I give it to you now. Do with it what you need to do. So okay, here's the next one. So some people would say that an inability to embrace the now is this quick off-ramp to happiness. If we can't embrace now, we can't be happy. So are there words of wisdom that have helped you in any way to find on-roads back to happiness? Are there various ways that you've worked this out if you've ever experienced this issue of not being able to live in the now? I gotta see the picture, I can't remember.
It looks like I was
yes.
in the moment there.
Yeah.
When I take selfies, and
I don't often take selfies, but when I do, Ellen DeGeneres is jealous.
So, I mean, in this world, I think we tend to get pulled away from our happiness, or we're pulled in so many different directions that we want to find our happy place, like where are we going to be, to find our happiness. So, I recently took a trip to India, and I think after like sort of spending time there and seeing like another culture live much quieter life, much simpler life in some sense, and less materialistic than we've become to accustom here in the U.S. I've tried, I've tried to sort of embrace some of these cultural differences, just to find my happiness. And so. If I had to say it in a poetic way, it would be like the tudes, like solitude, quietude, gratitude, and some other tudes out there. Attitude also. I mean, you talk a lot about attitude, like spend the moment to really appreciate this moment in time. Like just this morning, I was doing some editing with a director friend, and he was just preparing breakfast. It was at his place. So, and he just took so much time to make that meal. It was just a simple like bacon and some fruits on the side and like a potato casserole thing. He didn't make that from scratch. It was there overnight. So, just the spending that time, just cooking and spending the time with that particular thing that you're going to give to somebody else. Whether it's a small thing like just going for a walk, I think it helps you just reconnect with happiness and reconnect to yourself, because you're giving yourself so much to people at all times. Those are like the little things that may help me. Yoga, I find yoga is just another vessel, just another thing that you can do where you can get in touch with your body, get in touch with just knowing and embracing it and not thinking about the world. So. For me, it's extremely difficult to do that, but those are some strategies. I don't know how helpful that is, but
That's
yes.
awesome. Good job. I love it.
Yeah, this whole idea of living in the moment and not trying to create further problems or sort of inadvertently circumvent happiness, by being too obsessed either with the past or the future. It's definitely been something that's been on my mind for several years. I think the biggest thing for me in recent years has probably just been letting go of my own ideas of what the future is supposed to be like. And once, it's like a daily thing, but but when I am able to not allow my focus to be fixated on the future, and it's not like I, I'm not like I sit around and do nothing. I'm actually kind of workaholic, but I find that even just really investing in the work that's right before me a lot of times is more satisfying, because it's not just a means to an end when I am focused off on, like, well, then it's like it's just a stepping stone to this, to this, to this, to this, to this, because this is where I really want to be. There is just a sense of like, well, can you enjoy the process, the right now? And so that's been a work-life reality. That's been a reality as a really novice parent. And being able to just be like, well, right now, this is what's going on, you know?
My daughter's pooping her pants.
Yeah, everywhere. And it's on my arm. This is what's happening right now. And it's fine, whatever.
This is my now.
This is my now, yeah. I mean, there's those days where you're just like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
when are you 18? But no, those are very few in reality. So there is a lot more of just being able to, appreciate each little moment. I think has certainly helped me a lot. So.
Nice. Well, let me see. Last July, we got a puppy. And I think that's been the best thing for my happiness. Because whatever happens, a number of times a day, I have to stop everything to take the dog out. And I have to experience the world around me. And it's just been the best thing. Like, I get up in the morning, and the first thing I have to do is go outside. And it's been great. I've learned the weather is much better than I ever imagined it was most of the time. I'm very picky about weather and the perfection of how it's going to interact with my hair and just the whole of it. And it's been really good. It's just been this really happy thing for me. So I don't know if that would be true for everyone. I don't know if everybody got a dog, if they'd be just exponentially happier, but it has really changed my world. Right? But that has been a good one for me, I think. And then I think the other thing is sometimes other people are really helpful for me. So I can get a little uptight thinking about if things don't change, what does that mean for the future? And I find that other people are able to dial me back from that. So, one of our kids is in soccer right now, and I'll get really concerned, like, what if he's not getting the objective of the game? And, if we keep going in this direction, all the kids will hate him because he keeps making goals for the other team. And, I'm really scared. And scared. And so this other dad was like,
Through simple things like a touch, through being in very interesting environments, which is why we went through the hassle of actually going to George's Island to shoot a lot of that stuff, because I knew I just wanted, if it's a somewhat idealized concept, I wanted it to be picturesque. But at the same time, I didn't want it to feel like, oh, well, of course, he takes her to Rome or something, Plus, we just didn't have the budget to go to Rome. I wanted to, but, she said no.
I'm a jerk.
Yeah, you can go to Rome with your $5, sure.
Right.
But, so hopefully that answers your question more or less. But, yeah, it's meant to be just very representative on an emotional level of what they're experiencing.
How about one more? Yes.
I'm just curious. You said the story came to you like in a pop, but did the title?
The title?
The title.
Am I involved in the title?
No, well, no. I was waiting for you to repeat.
Oh.
You're like, what?
I was like, that's great. Tell me more.
Mm.
So, how did this title come about?
How did the title? Yeah, pretty much. I didn't want to circumvent your, method.
I have one job.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, on that drive home, I was like, okay, there's this story. and it's called Parallel. And then I was like, I hope that there's like not a ton of stuff called Parallel, but there's a few things out there. But I just stuck with it. I was just like, you know what? It's fine. It's my little short film, and I call it whatever I want.
It's funny that you use the analogy of driving, and you know that moment where you're following a car at the exact same speed, and you feel, oh my God, I feel like they're in my car, and I feel like I'm in their car, and it's like, oh, I gotta get out, or I gotta slow down. You know? But literally when you said that, I said, oh my God, it's so true. Like at that particular moment, you feel like, oh my God, they're looking at what I'm doing. I'm in their car. And it's like, slow down, you know. So
That's when I usually have to stop picking my nose. Car's right next to me. Yeah.
How many people have seen so picking their noses in their car? It's like where people pick their nose. It's amazing.
Yeah. Don't
So
you?
many. Well, maybe.
Oh, well, maybe.
It gets much more to me. They can pick the nose as much as they want. What gets to me is when they flick their cigarette. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, there's trees. There's like, just, you want to smoke? Put it up in your car.
I totally thought you'd say when they flick their booger out the window. Like, just gets me.
You want to be next to them. You're like,
Yeah.
Ah!
That's a game. You try to see if
And
you
then
can
you
stick
say,
boogers
I
in
had
someone
my
else's
mouth
car.
open and everything.
The
That's
dangers of
gross.
convertibles.
And this concludes our
How did we get the boogers?
Those are great.
There are, yes. And so
That was
some
a-
people have said they loved the film.
Oh, sweet.
And good job, and thank you. But there's no additional questions.
No additional.
so.
Okay, excellent. You have
I was
additional
gonna say
questions?
that was a. Oh yeah, I have one question.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a quick answer, but before that, I want to say that was a great metaphor, Carlin, for the film. Is like when two cars are driving. So instead of the bubble.
I thought it was like when two boogers are flying
Yes,
through
and
the
that
air next to
moment.
each other.
So our.
more so when you're in a train, and you know sometimes the trains are like, and you're like, whoa, and then boom, the train is gone.
Mhm.
I feel like that.
All right.
Cheater over here has one more.
It's cool.
Sometimes, well, actually, very often, when I see a film, or anytime I have the ability to ask a question, I can't think of it. But then in the middle, 1,000 questions. Will people be able to ask you questions hours later, days later, using Twitter?
That's a great question. So, will people be able to ask questions hours and days later when they wake up in the middle of the night tonight? As their burning desire to have asked this question.
No, he'll be sleeping tonight.
Because he's got a big day tomorrow. So.
But yeah, we'll,
What
yeah,
am I doing tomorrow?
yeah. We'll answer questions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this, you know, the whole idea of Stories by the River is to spark conversation. So we're always eager to have more conversation. And so, yeah, Facebook, Twitter, private message if you want to. Either way.
Knock
Yeah.
on my door.
Mm-hmm. Preferably not in the middle of the
I
night,
always
but
warn people, if you come to my house, we might be naked. So you want to tell us before you show up. If you don't believe me, that showed up unannounced. Oh. Or you can go to Film Forum, I think is what
yes.
the man in the back means.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if you're interested in discussing movies and asking questions and all that, we do monthly gatherings where we show full feature films, not ones we've made, but we do have discussions centered around that. And those are generally the third Friday of the month. So this month's already happened just last night, so you missed that. But next month, come join us. We're watching Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
There's too many questions.
It's not a question.
Was-
I just want to say I really, really enjoyed this movie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think you really, really well accomplished the sci-fi side versus the very, very organic side of Erica and Paul in bed. I was just, I mean, it couldn't be more
Came out wrong.
organic versus go back to sci-fi. So kudos. It was very, very well done.
Yes.
All right, so I'll be that person.
I agree with you.